Hey everyone, welcome back. Ever wondered how economic growth actually works?
Hmm. It's a question many people ponder.
It really is.
Mm.
So today we're taking a deep dive into this topic, and get this, our source material is Reddit.
Reddit, you say? That's interesting.
Right. You might not think of it as the first place to go for economic insights, but trust me on this.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity.
We're looking at this thread from Reddit's Ask Economics community where someone asked, how does money actually grow between a group of people?
Hmm. Now that's a deceptively simple question.
Totally. It sounds basic on the surface, but when you really start thinking about it,
It gets you thinking. Yeah.
to help us really wrap our heads around it, let's
Mm.
picture ourselves on a deserted island.
Okay, I'm game. Let's set the scene.
10 of us, stranded. Each of us starts with $100.
So a grand total of $1,000 circulating on the island. Got it.
Right. Now, can that money actually multiply all on its own?
That's the million-dollar question. Or, well, I guess the $1,000 question in this case.
Exactly. And one Reddit user, EarnBabYearn, hit the nail on the head. They said, it's not about the money itself, but what you produce on the island that matters.
Ah, the classic. It's not about the money, it's about...
Right. Like, we can't just bury the dollar bills and wait for a money tree to sprout up.
Definitely not. It's the work you do, the resources you use, that creates value.
Things like fishing, building shelter, gathering coconuts, all that good stuff.
Exactly. Economists call that real output.
Real output, got it. So it's all about what you actually produce.
And that, my friend, is the heart of economic growth.
Okay, so it's not about the money magically multiplying. It's about the real output, the actual stuff you create.
And the Reddit thread actually gives a really clear example of this. Imagine some islanders decide, hey, I'm good at building houses.
Makes sense. Specialization. Some folks are builders, some are gatherers.
Exactly. While others focus on farming, initially they might trade like one house for a year's worth of harvest.
Each valued at $100.
Right. But here's where it gets interesting. As they get better at what they do, invent better tools, more efficient farming, they produce more.
Even with the same $1,000 still on the island.
Exactly. More houses, more food. That is growth.
So even though the amount of money stayed the same, the island is richer in a way.
Precisely. They've increased their real output. And that highlights a crucial point. Economic growth isn't about just having more money floating around. It's about finding ways to do more with what you've got.
So it's not just about the money itself. It's about the activity, the production that the money represents.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key concept from the Reddit thread: velocity of money.
Velocity of money. Okay, now you've lost me a little.
Think of it like this. How many times does a single dollar change hands in, say, a year? It's not just about the money existing, it's about how much it's actually being used.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So back on our island, someone uses their $100 to buy some fish.
Right. That fisher then uses that same $100 to buy coconuts. The coconut farmer uses it to buy. You get the idea. That same $100 is now driving multiple transactions.
So the faster that money moves around, the more it's doing for the island's economy.
Exactly. You're getting it.
But hold on, does that mean a faster velocity always equals a booming economy?
That's a great question, and it shows that economics is never quite that simple. While higher velocity usually means a more active economy, it doesn't always mean everyone's better off, and can even be a sign of something else we hear a lot about: inflation.
Ah, inflation.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite topic. So it's not as easy as faster money, happy island.
Not quite. There's more to it than that.
So where does this whole inflation thing come in then?
Let's go back to our island entrepreneurs. You know, the ones brewing that delicious island beer and grilling up those steaks?
Ah, yes, the island's hottest new businesses. What happens when they decide to raise prices?
That's where we start to see the difference between nominal and real GDP, something that a lot of the Redditors were pointing out.
Okay, break it down for me. What's the difference?
Let's say they sold their beer and steaks for $1 each initially. Now imagine next year they're producing the same amount of beer and steaks, but decide to double their prices.
So instead of $1 for a beer or a steak, they now cost $2 each.
Right. Now, just looking at the dollars, it might seem like the island economy has grown, but
There's always a but, isn't there?
there is. What's actually changed?
They're not actually producing more, are they? They've just slapped a higher price tag on the same amount of stuff.
Exactly. And that's where nominal versus real GDP comes in.
Okay, so walk me through this nominal and real GDP thing.
So nominal GDP, it measures the total value of goods and services using the current prices.
So in our island example, when those beer and steak prices doubled, the nominal GDP goes up, even though they're not actually making more beer and steak.
You got it. It's like looking at the price tag without really understanding the value behind it.
Okay, so then real GDP, that's where we get the true measure.
You got it. Real GDP factors in those sneaky price changes, adjusting for inflation, so to speak.
So if I'm understanding this right, real GDP gives us a way to see how much the island is actually producing, regardless of whether the prices have gone up or down.
Exactly. It helps us see beyond just those dollar figures to understand the actual changes in output, and that's what actually reflects economic growth.
This is blowing my mind. It's not just about how much money is changing hands, but the real value of what's being produced.
Absolutely. And this is what I love about that Reddit thread. It wasn't just about abstract concepts. People were sharing these really interesting examples to illustrate everything.
I love a good real-life example. Lay it on me.
So one user talked about our island brewer. He's been working hard, perfecting his craft, and finally he figures out a more efficient brewing technique.
Nice. Innovation for the win.
Exactly. He can now produce the same amount of beer, but with less labor. But this means he has to make the tough decision to let one of his workers go.
That's a tough break. But it makes sense from a business standpoint. So what happens to the worker who was let go?
That's where it gets really interesting. That worker, instead of seeing this as a dead end, decides to use their skills in a new way. They become the island's first hairdresser, offering a brand new service no one else was providing before.
Whoa. Okay, I think I see where this is going.
Right.
Even though one job was lost, it created an opportunity for something new.
Exactly. This is a crucial point about economic growth.
Yeah.
It's driven by innovation and specialization.
So it's not just about working harder. It's about working smarter and finding new, more efficient ways of doing things.
Right. And as people specialize in what they're good at, it creates a ripple effect, leading to new opportunities, new growth.
It's like that saying, necessity is the mother of invention, but in this case, it's also the mother of economic progress.
Love that. And just like on our island, that progress, it's not always a smooth upward climb. There will be bumps in the road, changes in what people want, and what goods and services are most valuable.
It makes you realize if even a simple island economy can be this dynamic, a global economy, forget about it.
Absolutely. The global economy is a massive interconnected web of transactions, innovations, and specializations, all influenced by countless factors. It's mind-boggling to even try to wrap your head around it.
Seriously,
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. But
Mm.
looking at it through this island example makes it much easier to understand.
It helps break it down into manageable pieces. But we can't forget about the human element, the individual choices and actions that contribute to the bigger economic picture.
That's like they say it takes a village. But instead of just a village, it's the whole economy, right? All
Yeah.
these interconnected parts.
And we each play a role in that system. Think about you. Think about your own skills, your passions. What do you contribute?
It's a good question, isn't it? I mean, we're not all out there brewing beer or building houses on a deserted island.
True. But we all have something to offer.
Exactly. Like maybe you're a teacher, a programmer, an artist. Or hey, maybe you just bake amazing cookies.
Hey, those cookies could be a cornerstone of the local economy. Don't underestimate the power of a good cookie.
You're right. It's easy to forget that economic growth isn't just about these big corporations or the stock market. It's happening all around us every day.
Absolutely. That cup of coffee you buy, that haircut you get, that song you stream, it's all part of this whole web of economic activity.
Wow, when you put it like that, it really makes you think. It's like we're all part of this giant economic puzzle, each playing our own unique little part.
I love that analogy. So as you go about your day-to-day, think about how you fit into this whole thing. It's pretty amazing when you stop and really consider it.
This whole conversation has given me a brand new way to think about economics.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just dry formulas or complicated theories.
Right. It's about people.
Exactly. People and their ingenuity and that drive to create and produce and exchange.
I couldn't agree more. It's about understanding those forces that shape our world, from the tiniest transactions on a deserted island to this massive global flow of goods and services.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's safe to say we've officially navigated this deep dive into the world of economic growth.
I think so, yeah. We covered some serious ground today.
We talked about real output, we unraveled the mysteries of velocity, tackled inflation, and we even found the human element at the very heart of it all. And to think all this economic wisdom came from the depths of Reddit. A huge thanks to those insightful Redditors out there for sparking this conversation.
It just goes to show you never know where you'll find inspiration.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing. And remember, You're a vital part of this incredible economic adventure we call life.